listen, without any more ado about any more of the administrative news and such, we've got games to look at.
We do, and I suppose we will start in chronological order as we normally do, and that puts us with Italy-Wales to start off. Again, as we've said, the whole tournament long, Italy serving as the curtain raiser for the Six Nations weekend.
It's just good broadcasting.
It is just good broadcasting because, like, again, it's something you can't get away with in normal times because the crowds would ordinarily be there and they want to rotate things like Sunday games and more primetime stuff. Normally you'll have Italy at different times, but with none of that being a factor, it's nice that they are just slotting them in as the first game of the weekend because it's appropriate.
It makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. Yeah. The game is set to take place, as you say, this Saturday afternoon, early afternoon kickoff, March 13th. So that's 3:15 in Italy local time and 2:15 in UK and Ireland. That's in the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, to be refereed by Wayne Barnes.
Slight grievance here. Why isn't he reffing our game?
Oh no, we've got the best ref out there for our game, but we won't touch on that yet. Well, I mean, Barnes does the rounds. He refs enough big games.
He did.
I'm just glad he's on the rotation. He's the best ref out there.
He did, yeah. No, and he missed out on the Scotland. He was meant to be reffing that rescheduled game as well in that particular weekend.
Yeah, he'll probably ref it anyway. So,
I'd say so.
Wayne Barnes still doing the rounds. Good to see him involved. Preliminary reports, I would say, of some potential wet weather in Rome as it is across Europe this week, but the background temperature is probably going to be okay. And
probably still the nicest conditions of any of the games will likely come in Rome. Not necessarily, but likely.
It's going to be fine, I think. Hopefully, any rain or wind should be light and not too damaging. Still should be decent enough conditions to play some good rugby.
Yeah, that's what we hope. And just in terms of, I suppose, the colour of the game, the main story is just simply that Wayne Pivac Wales could be on for a Grand Slam. They just need to keep that momentum going with a solid win against Italy. That's kind of what this game is all about. Do they stutter? Do they struggle at all? Or do they just keep coasting along with some nice tries? That's going to be...
just to expand on the bits of the game that they haven't been doing well, like the exits and like the other specific work-ons that they have, test their defence a bit. But generally it's just about getting the win, notched up, no injuries, smooth sailing, and treating it without disrespecting Italy, because it's still possible they have a performance in them, but treating it as a training match for next week makes a bit of sense. Not that you don't play with full intensity in the training match, but in the sense that it's going to be a dry run for a tougher task for the Grand Slam next week.
Yes.
But also, a bonus point needed. If they get the bonus point, they have France and Scotland in real trouble for the championship, even if they don't win the Grand Slam.
Exactly.
So bonus point crucial here as well for Wales.
Yeah, and then conversely for Italy, it's their third and final home game. Not that has made too much of a difference in the stakes in this tournament, given that there are no crowds. But can they manage to just dust themselves down from the last 2 weeks and the opening three rounds really, and put in a good showing at home, which is really what they're hoping.
I know there's no fans, it does change everything, but the last time out it was such a tame effort at home
against Ireland, against a struggling, stuttering 0-2 Ireland. They thought maybe.
Yeah, they got a lot of ball and they didn't really move it, and they didn't really paint their picture at all. They just looked sluggish from the off and didn't bring the energy required for an upset win, or even an upset contest. But so this is their last home effort in the competition. I think they should, in some sense, be looking to deliver. And,
there's a potential for this to have been one of the games they were highlighting pre-tournament. When you think back to when Wales were absolute rank outsiders after a terrible 2020, and no one was predicting the tournament that has come.
Yeah, everyone was assuming Wales would be wooden spoon contenders with Italy. So
maybe Italy were thinking that way pre-tournament and targeting Wales, and this is the game that they'll target to peak, perhaps. We're hoping really more so. I think more so it's a dry run for Wales is really the colour of this particular spectacle, and a curtain raiser for the later game.
Yeah, I lost a lot of faith in Italy with their last showing. They were very, very poor, but if they do have a performance in them, it's as good a time as any to deliver it, I suppose, as is the case every week.
Yeah, true.
Just to move on and look at the squads for each of the two teams. for the hosts, Italy, just starting with them, things are largely settled. We're hopeful that we might see the return of Stephen Varney at scrum half.
Yeah, that would improve. That did affect them in terms of that Ireland game. Like their service at 9 was atrocious, and he is a big part. Himself and Garbisi are a big part of what gets them moving.
Yeah, they've been helping Franco Smith get his offense running a lot because they're driving a very good tempo and picking nice passes and playing much sharper rugby. Yeah. What I will say is, like, even Callum Brady, I think it is, the lad who came in the last day, didn't have a good one, and I would prefer, if they don't have the option of Varney, I prefer them to get Palazzani in there for those tempo generating reasons. So that's a big question mark for them. Obviously they've question marks in a lot of areas. We obviously don't have the squads, I should say, as we're shooting this now. I'm sure you do, so you're all going to know, but I think just as far as what they should do in the midfield, it is a question mark, and it'll be telling when the squad comes out, because they have everybody fit. They have Zanon, who can play in 13. So is their number one axis, is it Garbisi, Canna and Zanon? Is there room for Tommy Allen to come in, maybe at fullback or maybe in the centres? Or should Brex come in and Canna maybe start on the bench? Those are some options
Those are the debates. I think probably Canna is necessary, just giving his kicking acumen and probably the lack thereof for Garbisi in terms of just some of the tactical kicking. But, I think Zanon is probably their best rounded centre overall, so I'd like to see him in. So I think
So you're dropping Brex?
I'd be dropping Brex, but I don't know if that's what they'll do. They may opt for some kind of more ballast and go with Brex, Zanon, and try and run hard lines.
I liked Tommy Allen's impact off the bench
at fullback. He
looked. I think he came on. He might have come on for Garbisi even, but
maybe.
I just thought he was running great lines. He's obviously got that capacity to play centre and fullback. So keeping him on the bench might make a lot of sense.
Or starting him, to be honest, mixing it up, because if they're trying to play wide, if you start him at fullback, you have at least one more passer in there.
You get Garbisi, Allen, and Canna in there.
Suddenly you can pass it wide, because you want to go wide, and you have 3 10s on the pitch maybe. But I think it'll probably be Canna's Zanon. I think that's probable, but it could be some other option. They should be trying to test what has been.
Might be Brex Zanon as well. I think the last time they had them all fit, they went with Brex.
That was at the beginning of this the thing, but then they shipped a load of points to France in that game.
Indeed.
So they have options. I don't know what they will go with, but they should be trying to test the Welsh midfield, to be honest. But,
and the other one I would argue is Canone, the backup lock, should probably come in and start. I'm not sure if they'll do that either, but Lazzaroni and Cece hasn't worked.
No, it hasn't. Well, if those two are ahead of him in the pecking order, I would nearly advocate for just picking all of their back rows in the squad. 2 of them at second row and the others in the back row.
Meyer could probably play second row.
Meyer probably could.
As it is, hopefully they have Mbanda back, and he'll play with Meyer and Negri. If not, I think Lamaro will probably come in. Their back row have gotten through a lot of work, and they are the best hope for them.
They are. That's right. That's their best asset.
Wales have been a little more helpful to us with their naming of the squad 2 days early. A bit of a surprise announcement from them.
Bullish.
I like it. It's a throwback to the Gatland era. He used to always do that.
Yeah, throwing in the teams at early ridiculous
Tuesdays
stages.
And Mondays and whenever. And he's made a couple of changes as well. He says Adam Beard has been a bit beaten up. That's the way he put it.
Right.
So he says he's given him the rest this week to come in next week.
So he's a useful part of it. He had been playing well. We were saying last week he had a great game in the game against England, and he's a big part of their plans come the France game. And Corey Hill comes in. Gareth Davis comes in as well at 9. Right. But they keep the same side outside of that. They keep Jay Davis and North in the centre. They keep Bigger at 10. To be fair, if it ain't broke, like the last 2 times he's brought Callum Sheedy in relatively early in terms of changing a 10, and it's done very, very well.
And if they can do that, especially like even
they might even just go straight 40-40 for the both of them. You could do that. It's the Italy game.
If they
4 tries clear at half time, you're just chuck everyone in.
They have little Lloyd Williams on the bench at halfback as well, so you could see them. You could see Pivac taking off Davis and Bigger, who at their best are very brilliant attacking wise, and they are nothing if not creative and nothing if not threatening, but at their worst can be a little slow. So if this game is narrow, the capacity to bring on little Lloyd Williams and Sheedy and then just up the tempo in an instant in the second half,
it'll kill it. It'll break. And it's a good tactical decision as well.
But no room for the Sheedys of the world, no room for the Tonkinses of the world. Do you think this is their team that they play in France then?
Yeah, well, it seems so. Just given that they've picked it the last few weeks, in the England game and now here. I thought there was going to be scope for Tompkins for this one at least, just to keep, as you say, that tempo high and just attack.
Or even Halaholo, who's on the bench.
Even Halaholo, and you want to get minutes out. Obviously, he will probably get some minutes, given that he's on the bench. But it's you could have done what you like. If he's landed on this pairing. Yeah, I guess there's room for them to grow. It's a relatively young pairing as centre pairings go, despite both of them having played there at various points across their careers.
Yeah, it makes sense in the sense that North is in great form. Yeah, he's playing really well.
No, I wouldn't drop North.
He's taken tries as well, and obviously the back three is immovable.
Yeah.
With Adams and Rees-Zammit just lethal on either wing, and then Liam Williams best fullback out there at the moment, apart from maybe Hogg. But that's just a perfect back three.
Yes.
So I get not moving that and wanting to keep North in the team. So I guess the other question mark is just what you want to do with the other centre position. And Jay Davis is he's never let them down.
He's been a stalwart for many years, and they've kept faith with him. And now shifting him infield is probably no bad thing. He's always been a good tackler on the inside as well. And the concerns we had about him was testing him on the outside shoulder at the 13 channel. And when teams have managed to do that, he's looked a little vulnerable. But there's potential for him to slot in at 12 and really be a solid plug. It's a really robust midfield, to be honest, as far as a balance of physicality and
North has been making some
flair.
Defensive plays as well from 13, which is refreshing.
Well, he has more innate speed because he's a former outside back, know. And if he's lost, as we were saying last week in the review, if he's lost maybe a yard or two of pace in terms of being on the outside, a 13 could be a really good adjustment for him because he doesn't mind putting a hit in on defence as well. So it's a fledgling pairing. The test remains when it comes up against France. If they go with it against France in the deciding game, that's the test. Whereas this game, you could have gone Tompkins and Halaholo. You could have gone Sheedy, Bigger, Tompkins. You could have done anything.
That's what I thought they might have done, putting Bigger in at second distributor. But obviously they just really like the dynamic with bringing Sheedy on for Bigger.
Yeah, and there's no sense if you have two of your 10s playing really well. There's no sense to start both of them in the Italy game. The only thing you're doing is tempting fate. If one of them gets a knock, then.
But I mean, if they were going to work that dual distributor combination, this would be a good game to work it in.
Yeah. But there's still potential for them to do it off the bench. Sure, we saw Ireland tried Billy Burns, Sexton at the last 10 minutes of this fixture, and they could do that just to have a look at it if there's no pressure coming from the defensive line and no risk of injury to anyone, and you can try and have a bit of fun.
I imagine they'll probably take Bigger off though.
I'd say so.
Listen, moving on from the squads, we're going to just take a look at the game from the point of view of both teams, what each teams are going to be looking to do to try and get a result, or try and get as positive an outcome as they can.
Yes.
We're going to start with the hosts, as we do, which is Italy in this instance.
Yeah.
Out in Rome, and how do they make this one? How do we make this one new? I mean, it's the same thing. It's all about the beautiful thing for Italy is that it's all about them.
Yes.
It's just getting their own game right and delivering a performance. For me, matters more than any other single thing. Just putting together being the best that you can be as a team, I think, is an important.
It's a benchmark to
hit.
It's
an important benchmark for them to hit because, in my view, they haven't come close.
No,
they haven't brought the necessary sort of drive and energy that you need,
just grit and toughness and resilience. There's been very little of that from the beginning. They were getting, as we were saying at the beginning of the tournament, when they were getting hosed in a very pretty game at home against France, and it's aren't they playing in great spirits? And it's well, no, not really, because they're at home and they're conceding a load of points. Even at the World Cup, a lot of the time the tier 2 sides, who are woefully outgunned by the tier 1 sides, will deliver a good 10 minutes to start a game, because they start the game with a load of energy, they throw their bodies into things, and then they make it difficult for 20 minutes. They catch the big gun napping occasionally and catch them cold.
Didn't Namibia take a 9-0 lead or something like that against the All Blacks?
9-3 or something?
They put up a decent showing for 30 minutes, and then of course it all fell apart. Mm-hmm. But my whole thing with Italy is they haven't even seen that. No. Against Ireland, they never really got off the mark, and they got every ample opportunity to do so with plenty of ball in Ireland's half, and never really moved it at all. So Italy's focus has to be just on delivering the best of themselves, bringing proper line speed, maintaining discipline when they get the ball, moving it, painting their picture, moving it quickly, getting it to the extremities, getting those carries in.
Yeah, they have a nice, as we said, like a year out, we were saying Franco Smith's shape is looking nice. I like the way he's getting the back row forwards, which are his biggest asset, and whether it's Stain and the guys who are Stain and Pelledri who have been out, or even with this version of the team with Meyer and Negri, those guys are still your best players, and he has them out in the wide channels. He has a young 10, exciting young line. They can move it, they can find them out there. The try they did find against Ireland did happen exactly that way. Garbisi breaking a tackle, finding Meyer. The shame was that it was their only try and it came on the stroke of half time and the game was already over. And it's like, they need to show a lot more. They do need to come in all guns blazing in the first quarter. I've been saying it forever. I think it remains true in every game that they play in this competition, ongoing until they get to a level where they're at a level. Like, they don't need to be kicking threes in the first quarter. They need to be kicking to the corner and hoping to God that they do execute enough to score. They need to try and catch them with their pants down and go 21-0 up, in the knowledge that they might ship all those 21 points in the last quarter, but then they can hold on to things, and when they're gassed, then they might kick a 3-pointer to try and keep that lead chugging along. But there's no sense of building scoreboard pressure with a 3-pointer. It's just wasting one of the handful of chances they're going to get to score against one of these much better sides. And if they start well and conversely their opponents start a little sluggish, that particular window is their chance to rack up all the scores that they can. So all of them need to be 7-pointers for them to have any real chance of winning the game, I think. And I've thought for ages, and I'd say the same. I think the only time they should be kicking 3 is when they're in a competitive game with Georgia or a game with someone at their level. Then the equation's different. But this is just a mismatch, and they need to treat it as such. The other thing, as you were pointing out, is like tackling technique was what we were saying going into this tournament, and like all tournaments prior, and it is still bad, but it's a more macro problem with their defence where they just quit a little too early a lot of the time, and you just see it. It's revealing of the whole the whole kind of attitude of the squads. Almost is just they're not really getting off the line that hard. When the try is conceded, they don't really look certainly angry. They kind of just more look accepted. Like they've trotted back under their sticks so often that it's nothing to them. Water off a duck's back, exactly. And that's a problem.
You look to the Xander Fagerson try he scored against them in the Autumn Nations Cup, where it was a bit of a clunky play, and it looked like it might have been a knock on, but it clearly wasn't, and the ball just sort of bounced into Fagerson's hand.
As we were saying last week, not playing the whistle. It was England last week, but it's
Fagerson just trotted past 2 Italian defenders who were stood there like, is it play over? No,
it's try. Okay.
Whatever. We'll take a restart now. And there's a bit of that, which is, it's tough for them because they're like, so often you can give it your all and just have no reward at this level.
Yeah, and that has happened to a lot of Italy teams over the...
They could even deliver like a stellar performance that we're asking from them and bring all of this energy, and Wales could outclass them. Yeah. And that's almost what's likely to happen if they do deliver that. But I think just for their own sake, delivering a complete performance that they can be proud of in terms of just not like errors happen, but getting their attacking picture going, working the territory, exploding into things in the early going, giving nothing away cheap, minding your discipline, making tough tackles on the inside, and forcing Wales to earn it. Yeah. That's just the key. That's just the key for them. I also think they should work some set piece moves. Set piece moves are all the rage right now, and
it's how you break down these big scary defences at that tier 1 level. You can find some space.
They have some good, like the cogs in terms of working some space off set piece are all there. In that Zanon is a class runner, Ioane is a class runner, Garbisi and Kana can both kick and pass, and they can also Kana can run carry, as well. They can also carry as well. Yeah, absolutely. And they've got they've got Sperandio as a decent runner as well on the outside. But getting like Ioane in off a blindside wing,
get him more involved,
Zanon outside, just some clever play designs off set pieces when they get the chance to try and just cut a hole through the Welsh. I'd love to see them have a go at some of that stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to see all of that in the first quarter. I think they should be they should
catch
be working.
Napping, exactly.
Going to the corner and launch, not even going for the maul, but launching one of these nice moves with Ioane in.
But even from midfield, like I just think
all of these things.
Teams, the best teams like Scotland and Wales at the moment, and even England to some extent, and France are launching great attacks from the midfield set pieces. And I just would love to see Italy, even off first or second phase, pull off a nice strike play, because the multi-phase it's tougher to break down defences.
It is, and they pulled off one or two nice ones as well. That Tommy Allen try earlier in the tournament did come from a nice set piece scrum kind of launch thing, and a nice line being picked, and that's what they need more of. And they need again, my dream, go 21-0 up, and then we'll have a game, and we'll have a bunch of nervous Welshmen. And I'd still say it probably won't be enough, because Wales will score a load of tries, as we know.
Not likely to go 21-0 up. But I'm just asking for a performance. That's where my head is at.
No, indeed. And then even in terms of little challenges as well, like they scored 10 points in the last game, all of them in the first half. Maybe just scoring in the second half, registering some points in the second half would be good for them as well, because given the fact that they fade as much as they do, and the fact that they don't have the impact that all of their opponents in this tournament do have off the bench, it just leaves them in a disadvantageous
I don't even
place.
mind the fade so much. I mean, what I want is just the first half performance. They kind of had it against England, where it didn't go all their own way. They got caught with their pants down off kick return for the Anthony Watson try. They were kind of at arm's length for most of the game, but they were in there.
They were in the mix
until
and trying to fight.
The Garbisi intercept, which ended it. But if they can be in a similar position, especially at home, they're not away in Twickenham, if they can be in a similar position and not throw that intercept pass, there's scope for an interesting game there as well.
All of that is true.
So I'd love to just see them be in a game at that point, as they were against England, rather than starting it as tamely and poorly as they did against Ireland, which was disappointing.
It was disappointing. It was not wholly surprising, and as I said, like, fatigue is not just physical fatigue. Like, they had 2 weeks off going into that game. They're coming off another break here, but it is fatiguing to just lose every game. And even with the extra time to train, it's no guarantee of being more kind of there in the first quarter, because again, if you don't believe that anything you're doing in training will result in any positive result on the pitch, which it's tough to do after this amount of losses in a row, then you're fighting an uphill battle as a coach, I know, trying to motivate them. And you can see the frustration in Franco Smith. I think in the very first try that France scored in their first game, you saw it bury his head in his hands because it was such a present from them, and then they proceeded to give away more. And you can tell, like, that's not what they're talking about. And they're probably saying similar things to what we're saying here in the coaching box, and they're trying to come up with little ways to motivate the troops and put in some semblance of a performance and find something to grow from. But it's tough.
For me,
it's just
it
tough.
has to be galvanised by the offence, which is pretty good. Like, they're in decent position as far as offloads thrown in the competition. They're not at the rear of the table. I think they're
third. Scoring tries against these top teams. At least they're finding a try.
They were poor against Ireland, apart from that one score. But against France and England, they showed enough in offence in the early goings that there is plenty to take encouragement from, and that's the hope. That's what galvanises them.
Well, against a Wales squad, a Wales side that have been scoring tries themselves, but also conceding a few. They haven't been completely watertight at the back. That hasn't really been what their team is about under P-back. So like something like that, a little idea, a nugget to bring into the first half, or to bring into the opening exchanges with a hope of executing some kind of plan. Getting after them off set piece, launching some plays, try and strike, try and convert into some tries and apply some scoreboard pressure, and then you're in the game. But I know all Italian fans are just looking for, like what you were asking for, a bit more of a rounded performance from them, as well as just a bit more of a competitive, combative streak that used to be a part of. Even the most dismal of Italy teams used to be a bit grittier. You're thinking when they had Parise and they had Giraldini and all of these guys, Troncon, how combative was that guy all those years ago? Like they used to make it a scrap. Like, it was very often 6-6 at half time in a game against Italy was common fare for Wales or for Ireland or for things, and then it would be the second half. But we're not even seeing a lot of that. They've
gained a slightly sharper passing game, an offensive game, while losing
their edge in that regard,
physical edge that they had, for sure. So listen, that is the hopes and dreams that we have for Italy. It remains to be seen how it goes for them, but obviously Welsh fans will want none of that.
Indeed.
And they'll be confident enough coming into this one
that none of that will happen.
But in terms of delivering the performance itself, I think the keys for Wales here, just moving it around, keeping the pace of the ball high.
Hopefully the weather stays reasonably amicable as far as playing conditions are concerned, and then they can back their skill set, back their offense, and back their skill set. Like, they know that putting it through the phases, they will win a few contacts and get themselves more chances, and they'll doubtless be slightly sharper in terms of the lines they're running than even Ireland were, and they'll wear them down in a different way rather than just being physical.
That centre partnership to gel between Davis and North is huge as well. Just getting them working within the shapes and within the systems, giving them 80 more minutes of Six Nations rugby is going to be crucial. And just keeping the pace high, moving the Italian defence from left to right, probing for weakness. I think there's scope for a guy like Tipperick in the wide channels to have a big game.
All kinds of nightmares.
Linking up between wings and
breaking tackles if he needs to, finding offloads.
Just getting to those wide channels and stretching the Italian defence and forcing them to run. And then even from there, just kicking on your own terms, winning the territory battle is huge. It's actually an area of... it's a work on for them, and Italy haven't been great in that area either.
Yeah.
But rectifying that, exiting better, I think probably giving the responsibility to Biggar a bit more. Biggar just kicks bombs at the moment.
Yes.
But the exits are all box kicks, and there's not much in the way of deep kicks.
Yeah, they should probably vary that a little. They do have other boots in the back line even to go to, and actually Rees-Zammit has shown himself very capable of kicking a nice touch finder when there's space in behind. Maybe he could be an option for exit. These are the kinds of you can mix it up against Italy in this way, and they can give themselves different kind of drills to do it.
It depends on what they show you as well. Sometimes they show you like a really soft defence and you feel like you can have a go at them, and then it's possible that they show in some instances they show up a little more and they're more physical and they're more robust, in which case you have to pick them apart and work ways to kick it in behind, force them to exit, which they're not great at either, especially if it's like little Varney trying to box kick. Tends to be that they either try to kick it deep is what they have been doing, but not having the length to really get it that deep.
So you're just running. You're just
counter-attacking
ball. Liam Williams and Rees-Zammit come charging back at them. That's all. If you can engage a kick tennis battle with this Italian team, they have all the tools to unpick them on lovely transitional tries. Could be in the offing for them. But I think the main kind of focus for them, like they can kind of win it in many different ways. But do they like we were highlighting little tactical challenges just to motivate your troops? You see that it's a good way to guard against what the one instance in which Italy win this game is catch them with their pants down at the beginning of the opening whistle and run in 4 or so unanswered tries and leave Wales with slightly too much to do. That's the only way they lose it, and to guard against it, it's probably not going to happen. It's a Six Nations game. They were playing for their country. They have a Grand Slam on. But little kind of tasks that you can test them. Like Ireland, it seemed we were watching them looking for a maul try last week. It felt like they were determined, as if it were a message, like we're against Italy, we need to get our maul going, let's try and do it. And on the 64th minute, they finally did get their maul try and they looked delighted. So little things like that could win Jones and guys start scrumming for penalties. Their scrum has been a little under pressure against the top teams. Can they get a bit more of aggression going in terms of how they scrummage, line out steals, or getting their own maul going as well? These kind of little tasks.
Good.
All of these little tasks for the pack, just to keep them engaged in a tactical mindset, is a really good way of getting yourself motivated for what is a mismatch.
It is, and there's barring disaster, I think Wales are going to be in a good position. Ideally it's done with no drama, and ideally they have to get this bonus point as well.
Yes.
So putting it to them in the first quarter, winning the upfront battle, and as you say, getting a bit of confidence for that tight 5, which have been playing well.
Yeah, and then conversely the centre pairing as well, like you were saying, like having them running lines off each other within the system. You do have a little bit more time, a little bit more space. It's a little softer in the contact against Italy, so there's scope for all of that. They can kind of win this a million different ways if they want to. Sure, we saw England kick the leather off the ball last year and still put up a score on them as well without even trying, it seemed. So Wales should be the same.
Find tries when they're there, and that's what Wales have been so good at.
The question is, will their conversion rate take a hit this week? Because it's tough. Like Italy will probably give them so many chances that it's going to be tough to convert them all. Or they just win by 70 points.
They tend to put up big scores against them. Speaking where do you think this one's going to go? In what kind of ballpark? You're giving it to Wales, I assume.
I am giving it to Wales. I'm just wondering, is there a stutter, an even momentary stutter, where it, not that the result is in doubt, but that they maybe are a little clunky.
If the ref gets on them, if they start forcing the play, giving away turnover penalties and that kind of lark.
All of that is
big
possible.
Performances from the Italian back row, maybe. Then Italy striking.
I'm still looking at least 50 points for Wales. Probably between 12 and 17 for Italy.
Okay, so what's the score then? 50-12, we'll say.
I'll say 54-12 for the crack.
54-12. Okay, yeah.
Something in that ballpark is what I'm looking at.
Say,
maybe 60. It could be anything.
I'll say 47-17.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not going to be perfect.
No.
Wales have been good without being great in large parts of games. But I just think they'll strike, and they've been striking against good defences.
Yes.
I think they'll strike enough against this bad defence to get the bonus point, which is job done.
Oh yeah, no, they will 100%
job
do
done.
that. That's probably when the stutter happens, is if they get the bonus point pre-half time, then maybe the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes after half time when the subs are rolling in, maybe then the penalties creep up and that keeps the score down a little. But yeah, it's an academic prediction, because I think we're all, and the commenters as well, I don't know if anyone's going for Italy, but if you do, drop in the comments below before kickoff as proof.
Yeah, indeed. Won't be hearing it after
indeed,
the match. There's no sense coming in and laughing at us for getting it wrong if you don't have receipts as well.
Indeed,
but no, I would be confident enough. I actually gave Italy a chance of having a good game against Ireland the last time out, and they were so poor in that opening period. I was shocked. Like maybe I shouldn't have been, but I'm so down on Ireland. Like, I'm worried about everything. And so when they had the ball in our half, I was like, oh, they're going to expose our defence, and they didn't have a prayer doing that. So I would fear for them in that way. But Garbisi can play. Let's hope they hit. Let's hope they strike. Monty Ioane tries in the early
What
goings.
I hope for the game is that they take a lead with a try at least.
Monty Ioane.
He got
a good one against Twickenham.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he did. He scored a nice one. He's a dangerous man. Get him in there scoring.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think it's an academic one. I think Wales will be winning comfortably and rolling into Paris.
Looking for the old Grand Slam.
Oh yeah.
I can't do the Welsh accent at all. It just goes. There's like a word that's okay.
It's a tough one, all right. I think Gavin and Stacey's done wonders for mine.
That might be it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Listen, we will probably move on to the more important games.
Yes, we will. All right.
Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you enjoyed that video, please be sure to like and subscribe. And hey, if you have an opinion of your own, if you disagree with what we're saying, leave a comment down below. We might just get back to you.